welcome everybody to the April 2025 meeting of the Metropolitan Study Group of the SRIA. And it gives me great pleasure today to hand over to our presenter, Frater Pascal Gregoire. Over to you.
Thank you so very much, Sean. First of all, and on behalf of the MSG, Metropolitan Study Group London, I'm delighted to welcome everybody on a very special extended weekend. You took the time to be with us, and it's really much appreciated, as at any time anybody participating to any presentation of the Metropolitan Study Group. This presentation, as you can see, the 12 Keys of Basilius Valentinus, a transformative journey, is almost today, only Saturday, an allegory of what will be shared with you, coming from darkness, Passion of Jesus Christ, to the resurrection moment. So from darkness to light, this is a journey to which, very modestly and humbly, I love to share with you today. The idea of this presentation is really to stimulate maybe even more comments, personal comments and questions. This is not an academic work, although it has about 25 pages with the bibliography. For those of you interested, I'm quite sure this will be available at some point on the MSG London, SRIA London website, so you will be able to go through at your own rhythm. Frankly, a few minutes ago, I was not only struggling with the PowerPoint sharing and with the laptop connecting, but also with the point of how I will present this paper. In fact, in these 25 pages of the paper, there might be 2 or 3 standalone subjects about Basilius Valentinus himself and his time or their times, about the relationship with Rosicrucianism would be a second lecture, and also how it resonates today. And frankly, my friends, what is all interesting me in this alchemy, history and stuff, this is not only the tradition, its interpretation, the knowledge and so on, old and ancient knowledge, but also how today we make sense of it, and how today we make sense as individuals, but also as a group for the future. This said, the presentation will be articulate like this. If it's too long, Sean, you just tell me. If you are bored, you just tell me as well. I can adjust and fine-tune. I will give the general framework of what's discussed and presented in the paper. I will go through the different keys of Basilius Valentinus. It's a real alchemy journey, but mostly an inner journey. And also a third part will be about how it might resonate, vibrate in us today, and what kind of sense what kind of meaning we can take out for today and for the future. First of all, allow me to make a general presentation of what is at stake here. The period when Basil Valentine published his works was marked by the transition from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance, meaning end of the 16th century and very early 17th century, characterized by intellectual shifts, religious upheaval, and political fragmentation. Europe at that time saw the rise of humanism, early scientific inquiry, and the Protestant Reformation, which challenged established religious and intellectual traditions. Valentine's alchemical writing reflects the era's blend of mystical traditions with emerging experimental methods, contributing to the foundation of, modern science. Medieval alchemists sought to understand and transform the material world through chemical and metallurgical experiments, while also pursuing a quest for spiritual transformation. Their aim was to uncover the secrets of nature to achieve goals such as the transmutation of basic metals into gold, the creation of the elixir of life, and the attainment of spiritual perfection, for whatever it means. A legendary figure in medieval alchemy, Basil Valentine, despite the uncertainty surrounding his identity, a bit like Christian Rosencrantz. Was it an Andrea? Was it an individual? Was it a group? It's still not yet very sure today, although there are strong evidence that it might be mostly an individual. So left an indelible mark on the history of alchemy and chemistry. His writings influence a wide range of thinkers and scientists like Paracelsus, like Newton, who helped lay the foundations of modern chemistry. The works of Basil, Valentine, particularly the 12 Keys of Philosophy, through which we will go quickly through today, and its triumphal chariot of antimony, have inspired many alchemists and chemists over the centuries. His ideas contribute to the development of fundamental chemical concepts and the evolution of scientific methodology in the study of substances and their properties. The authenticity, as I was saying, of the writings attributed to a so-called Basil Valentine is often questioned, and still some researchers believing that these works could be the product of multiple anonymous authors or a single author using the name Basil Valentine as a pseudonym. The latest foundings, 20th century, are pointing out the fact it could be a so-called German Johann Toldi, a sole manufacturer of his time, born in 1565, died in 1624, so a contemporary, of course, of the famous Rosicrucian farmer. Whoever he was, Basil Valentine possessed indeed considerable chemical knowledge. He demonstrates that ammonia could be obtained by the action of alkalis on ammonium chloride, describing the production of hydrochloric acid by acidifying brine from ordinary salt, so-called sodium chloride, and created oil of vitriol, sulfuric acid, among other words. Basil Valentine's texts are essential for understanding how alchemy not only laid the foundations of modern chemistry, but also enriched European thought by merging science and spirituality. These works demonstrate how medieval alchemists sought to understand and transform the material world while pursuing a quest for spiritual transformation, thereby influencing generations of philosophers and scientists till today. 17th century Rosicrucianism, at least, and Basilius Valentinus are linked by shared themes of transformation, symbolism, and reform. In fact, they are contemporary. Both Rosicrucianism, Basilius Valentinus, explore spiritual and material change using alchemical allegory to convey mystical truths. The so-called Fama Fraternatis, a key Rosicrucian text, was shaped by intellectual networks possibly influenced by Valentine's works. His alchemical ideas, advocating reform and integration of knowledge, resonate with Rosicrucian ideas. Ultimately, these connections highlight how alchemy and mysticism converge in the early 17th century spiritual and philosophical movement. Basilius Valentinus' works remain profoundly relevant today, as they offer timeless metaphors for both personal and societal transformation. His famous 12 Keys, dated 1600, first edition publicly known dating 1600, symbolize the internal process of self-improvement, resonating with modern practices like meditation and therapy, as well as Jungian psychology's focus on individuation. Spiritually, his teachings on alchemical transmutation parallel contemporary quest for higher consciousness. In the face of ecological crisis, the alchemical principles of purification and transformation align with regenerative approaches to environmental stewardship and ethical governance. Close this introduction, just that Valentinus' vision of interconnected matter and spirit underlines holistic approaches in technology, spirituality, and societal change, guiding us toward a more balanced and sustainable future. Question is, why the works of Basilius Valentine 400, 500 years ago did matter at that time and still does matter? The works of Basil Valentine, particularly his 12 Keys of Philosophy, but also the triumphal chariot of antimony, have inspired countless alchemists and chemists over the centuries. His ideas have contributed to the formation of fundamental chemical concepts and the evolution of scientific methodology in the study of substance and their property. These texts, 12 Keys of Philosophy and the Chariot of Antimony, offer valuable insight into how alchemy shaped and enriched European thought, both scientifically and mystically, for several reasons. First of all, it documents alchemical practices, particularly the 12 Keys of Philosophy and the Triumphal Chariot. Detailed documentation provide detailed documentation of alchemical processes. They describe the stages of metal transmutation, equipment used, and the substance involved. Symbolism and alchemical philosophy. Symbolic illustrations and descriptions in Basil Valentine's work are essential for understanding the spiritual dimension of Valentine's work at that time. Show you the first key just as an example. We will go back to it a little bit further. It's also still relevant because it had an influence on medicine and chemistry. The Triumphal Chariot of Antimony book is particularly notable for its contribution to medicine. The text explores the medicinal properties of antimony and its use in treating various diseases. Transmission also of alchemical knowledge. The text of Basil Valentine served at that time as a bridge between medieval alchemical knowledge and the scientific developments of the Renaissance. Last but not least, it had an impact on the mystical and philosophical thought. Medieval alchemy, as documented by Basil Valentine, influenced mystical and philosophical thinkers in Europe. Figures like Paracelsus and Isaac Newton were inspired by alchemical ideas, incorporating concepts of spiritual transformation and purification into their own work. Now let's turn to the 12 Keys of Philosophy. As I said, is dated, was first made public in German in 1600. It was translated in Latin by Michael Meyer 18 years later in 1618, and most probably the icons, the pictures, the illustration that we will see, the 12 Keys, are the result of the work of Michael Meyer himself. Although after all these readings, I'm not sure if it's only of him or if he reworked it or retransformed it. But anyway, they are surely dating from the early 17th century. So turning back to the 12 Keys of Philosophy by Basil Valentine, it's, as it says, structured around a series of 12 allegorical keys. These keys represent stages in the alchemical process, with each key corresponding to a specific operation in the pursuit of creating the philosopher's stone capable of turning base metals into gold and granting immortality. What we have to know is that each key is accompanied by elaborate allegorical imagery and symbols, which are meant to be interpreted by the reader. So there is not a ready to use manual. This is really, left to the imagination, the knowledge, and the resonation of the reader. These images include depiction of animals, mythical creatures, and symbolic scenes that represent the stages of the alchemical process. Text requires careful study as it is filled with metaphors and hidden meanings that relate not only to alchemical operations, but also to broader spiritual and philosophical themes. In fact, the structure of the 12 keys reflects the layered complexity of alchemy, where the physical process of transmutation mirrors the spiritual journey of the alchemist. The structure of the book is as following. It's not more than 40, 50, 60 pages maximum according to the edition that we are considering. You have a prologue, we have the 12 keys, and we have a conclusions. The prologue opens the book with an introductory section that outlines the significance of alchemy and the spiritual journey that the reader is about to undertake. This introduction, this prologue, emphasizes the importance of understanding the symbolic language and imagery used in the book. The 12 keys themselves. The core of the book consists of 12 chapters, each referred to as a key, or as Rosicrucian named this, as a clavicle. These keys are not literal, of course, but metaphorical and allegorical, representing different stages in the alchemical process. Each key is accompanied by a symbolic image of or engraving, which is meant to be interpreted by the reader. Each of these keys is rich in symbolism, often requiring a deep understanding of alchemical concepts, as well as a knowledge of the philosophical and spiritual tradition underlying the practice of alchemy, but not only. Through meditation and being open to the energy that these symbols and these image and engraving are giving, and with time, anybody could figure out what it means for ourselves or for himself. At least this is my deep conviction, personal conviction. And then next to the prologue, the 12 keys, you have the conclusion. The book typically ends with a conclusion or epilogue, summarizing the alchemical journey and emphasizing the moral and spiritual lessons to be drawn from the work. Let's turn back to the 12 keys. And let's go a bit deeper in it. In fact, the 12 keys of philosophy explore essential alchemical concepts, as already said. Here is an overview of the key themes addressed in this work. We have, of course, the transmutation of metals. We have, of course, the philosopher's stone, symbolism and allegory, purification and perfection. But we have also an aspect of alchemical medicine. Some parts of it, indeed, address the use of alchemical processes to prepare medicinal remedies, highlighting the therapeutic application of alchemy, which were all in innovation for the time, such as systematic methodology. Basil Valentine introduced detailed and methodical processes, marking a more scientific approach compared to the often mystical speculation of his predecessor. It has also educational illustrations, which serve as powerful educational tools, making alchemical concepts more accessible and understandable. And then, of course, you have a fusion of science and spirituality. The text integrates elements of philosophy, religion, and science, illustrating a holistic vision of knowledge, where material and spiritual transformation are interconnected. Now, just take a breath and let's go quickly to the journey of the 12 keys, and starting with the first key. Okay, so first key is illustrating the process of calcination. In fact, there is a text that summarizes each of the 12 keys. I don't think I wrote it down on the PowerPoint, but the text accompanying this prima clavis, its first key, is as following. Burn your metals in the fire of wisdom until they are reduced to ashes. Thus, their true nature will be revealed and their impurities eliminated. Burn your metals in the fire of wisdom until they are reduced to ashes. Meaning could be calcination symbolizes the initial purification, where both material and spiritual impurities are burned away to reveal the pure essence, This process represents the first step in personal and spiritual transformation, illustrated by the king and the queen. And we could elaborate much, much more on this, but the point is go through all of them, and we can discuss it further if some of you have a particular interest in a specific key. Turning to the second key, which can be called the balance of opposites. The second key is about dissolution. And the text accompanying the second key is as follows. Immerse the ashes in the water of life, and they will dissolve into an elixir. What was once solid will become fluid and ready to be transformed. Meaning could be dissolution, symbolize the deconstruction of old structures and the presentation for new formation. This process is essential for regeneration and renewal. Third key, the subduing of the dragon. Separation. Separate the subtle from the gross with great care and wisdom, so that each element may regain its true nature and the pure essence be revealed. Meaning that separation is a stage of discernment where the pure elements are distinguished from the impurities. It reflects the need to clarify and understand the different aspects of oneself and the world. Subduing the dragon. The fourth key, the union of forces, conjunction. Reunite what has been separated to create a new union, spirit and matter. Heaven and earth must unite into one essence. Spirit and matter, heaven and earth must unite into one essence. Conjunction could be meaning, symbolize the union of opposites. In day and night, again, queen and king, woman and man, sun and moon. Union of opposites and the integration of material and spiritual aspects. It represents the harmony and balance necessary for complete transformation. Fifth key, death and renewal. Fermentation. Allow the elixir to ferment, and it will take on new life. This process of fermentation transforms death into rebirth and the old into the new, the passion of Christ, the resurrection, Easter time. Fermentation is here to be seen, or can also be seen, interpreted as a process of deep personal and collective transformation, where old structures are broken down to give birth to something new. It symbolizes regeneration and renewal, not only Easter, but Eastern as well. Sixth key of the marriage of elements through distillation. Distill your elixir, and it will become purer with each passage. What is subtle will rise, leaving impurities behind. What is subtle will rise, leaving impurities behind. Distillation symbolizes here continuous purification and spiritual elevation, eternal new start. Each distillation makes the essence purer, reflecting the process of personal refinement. While the seventh key, philosopher's soul, is about coagulation. Coagulate what is subtle so that it becomes solid and tangible. What was spiritual must now manifest in matter. What was and what is spiritual must now manifest in matter, in deeds, in action. Coagulation represents the manifestation of ideas and spiritual transformations in the material world, here, now, today. It symbolizes a concrete realization of spiritual aspiration. Move to the 8th key, resurrection, Easter time, sublimation. Sublimate your elixir, elevating it to the heavens. What was earthly must become celestial, and what was material must become spiritual. As above, so below, as below, so above. Sublimation is here the elevation of material elements into a higher spiritual form, into a higher spiritual real. It reflects the aspiration to transcend material reality to reach a higher spiritual state. 9th key is binding of the opposites, multiplication. Multiply your elixir so it may heal and transform, not just a part, but the whole. What is perfect in itself must be shared. What is perfect in itself must be shared. And is gratis, is for free, is available here now for everybody. Multiplication symbolizes the expansion and dissemination of the benefits of transformation. It reflects the idea that wisdom and spiritual healing must be shared for the benefit of all. Very, very Rosicrucian, isn't it? Moving to the 10th key, we are moving to the divine wisdom uncode, projection. Now that you have purified, that you have unified, that you have distillate, and so on, your elixir, it's time to project your elixir onto imperfect matter, and it will transforming it into gold. What was basic will become precious, rare, and what was coarse will become noble. Portals are also influencing our language, are also influencing our words, which has an influence on our environment. Projection here represents the final act of transformation, where the alchemical product turns basic matter into gold. It symbolizes a culmination of the transformation process, where both the individual and society reach a state of perfection and balance by sharing, by mixing with the real world, with the real people, and learning the lessons and moving on, purified. Dear friends, these 10 excerpts from the 12 keys of philosophy illustrate the complex and profound stages of the alchemical process, each symbolizing key aspects of personal and collective transformation. Today, these principles continue to resonate, offering powerful metaphors for contemporary challenges and inspiring holistic and balanced approach to life. Without unreadable manuscript, without abracadabra formula, without heavy, opaque, ununderstandable ritual, is there for the sentient beings with open mind and that are ready to reinvent themselves and to understand themselves and to share themselves with the rest of the world. We have still 11th key. The two other keys. The 11th key is about the dual throne. It's in fact a perfection, furthering, a strengthening of the fermentation principles. This is, in fact, the 11th key is related to alchemical fermentation. When the stone is perfectly fixed, it must undergo fermentation to reach its full power. A leaven of divine wisdom must be added to the work so that the dead substance may revive and multiply. Alchemical fermentation represents rebirth and renewal, where the alchemical work is revitalized and amplified. The alchemical work, to some extent, not being the end of the process. This process involved the addition of a spiritual or intellectual leaven, quote unquote, symbolizing the infusion of wisdom and divine inspiration that revitalize and energize the work. It corresponds to a spiritual or intellectual renewal, allowing the individual to transform and further perfect themselves for the general good. Last but not least, 12th key is, of course, the philosopher's stone, alchemical perfection. Text going with it is as following, can be summarized as following. Finally, when all the steps have been accomplished with wisdom and patience, the stone must undergo final purification. Only then can it attain ultimate perfection, transforming everything it touches into pure gold, shining with divine light. Alchemical perfection represents here the ultimate completion of the great work, where the philosopher's stone reaches perfect state and can transmute any metal into gold. Mostly this symbolizes the attainment of spiritual and material perfection, where the individual, you and me, are capable of fully manifesting their divine potential and transforming the world around them. This is the ultimate accomplishment of the alchemical quest, illustrating the realization of inner wisdom and perfection. This 11th and 12th key complete the alchemical cycle by emphasizing revitalization and ultimate achievement. These excerpts demonstrate how Basil Valentine's alchemical principles extend beyond material transformation to encompass profound spiritual and intellectual dimension. And my friends, in 2025, these concepts can continue to inspire approach to personal development, social transformation, and the pursuit of perfection in various aspects of life. I don't want to take too much of your time. I could elaborate about the mystical links between Valentine and Rosicrucianism. This is in the paper. We can discuss it a bit further, how it resonates, but it's not complicated to already have an idea. This is about the same time of political transformation, spiritual, religious reformation, transformation, arts, cultural transformation, Renaissance, and so on and so on. I want to move on to the last part of the presentation, which is really dear to my heart, and it's about how it resonates today. The enduring appeal of Basil Valentine works lies in their rich and complex model of transformation that transcends mere material goals. They offer a vision of a world where matter and spirit are interconnected, where each material transformation is also a spiritual transformation. Early 21st century, as global crisis pushes us to rethink our value systems and our relationship with the world and with each other, the 12 keys of philosophy continue to serve as a powerful metaphor for personal and collective change. The themes of purification, transmutation, and elevation resonate with efforts to build a more just, fair, sustainable, and enlightened society. Basil Valentine's 12 keys are not simply instructions for the transmutation of metals. They are profound metaphor for the inner transformation of the individual. Each key represents a stage in the journey towards purification and self-perfection, offering timeless wisdom that resonates deeply in today's world. As people increasingly seek deeper meaning and holistic well-being, modern practices like meditation, therapy, and spiritual exploration can be seen as contemporary form of this spiritual alchemy. Valentine does describe it so well 4 or 5 centuries ago. On a broader scale, the themes of purification and transmutation articulated in Valentine's work
align closely with current social and environmental movement, as our society confronts monumental challenges such as climate change, social inequalities, and environmental degradation. The 12 keys provide a symbolic roadmap for collective transformation. The idea of purification can be seen as a call to cleanse or harmful practices, while transmutation represents a shift toward more sustainable and equitable systems. One of Valentine's most profound contributions is the recognition that matter and spirit are deeply interconnected. This perspective is especially crucial today as more and more people begin to appreciate the spiritual and emotional impact of our material actions. Concepts like permaculture, circular economies, and clean technologies do embody this holistic vision, striving to create systems that harmonize both material and spiritual needs. In this, the 12 keys of philosophy also offer powerful metaphors for change and regeneration. The alchemical notion of death and rebirth can be applied to modern concepts of resilience and ecological renewal, to compassion and self-awareness. In the face of ecosystem collapse, the transformation of production and consumption systems from destructive to regenerative mirrors the alchemical principles of renewal and growth. Furthermore, friends, alchemical themes inspire ethical and fair approaches in governance and business. Symbolic transmutation of basic metals into gold serve as an analogy for transforming oppressive systems into just and fair, equitable structures. Businesses and governments that embrace ethical and sustainable practices embody this modern alchemy, turning the base matter of exploitation into the goal of responsibility and mutual respect. Through its rich symbolism and profound teaching, Basil Valentine's The 12 Keys of Philosophy offers a timeless vision of both personal and collective transformation. In a world undergoing rapid changes, these alchemical principles should guide us toward a more harmonious future where matter and spirit, individual and society, do evolve together in a state of balance and perfection. With these words, I conclude this presentation. Thank you so very much for your kind attention, and I'm really looking forward not only to questions, but what does it mean for you today in 2025? How does it resonate? How do you see it? How can we move forward next with our personal ideals, maybe Rosicrucian ideas, Masonic, humanist ideas? This is really what is interesting me today. Thank you so very much again, Sean.
Frater Pascal, thank you very much indeed for that wonderful presentation, and it opens up a really great opportunity for us to discuss these various things. I would ask for those of you who wish to ask a question or offer your observations or comments, please could you raise a hand via the reactions tab at the bottom of the screen. That would be very helpful for me to moderate our discussion. Firstly, we have a question in the chat here, Pascal, from James. And James's question is, would not a better term for philosopher's stone actually be the philosopher's ore, since it really isn't a stone as such, but raw ore, O-R-E, transformed to higher uses? Thank you from Texas.
Thank you very much from Texas. Indeed, it speaks for itself. Huh? It's more a comment also than a question. It speaks for itself. What is the philosopher's stone could be different. You can take it literally. It is a stone that is able to transform whatever, and it takes a lot of fermentation and coagulation and blah, blah, blah. You can spend your life and think that you have found it and not found it. Can be also, as we are a very special period, Holy Saturday. It could be also, to some interpretation, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ can be a kind of philosopher's stone, or the allegory, the philosopher's stone being the allegory of Jesus Christ will transform all darkness into renaissance, high age, and individual. So I leave it to everybody to interpret and to find her and his own philosopher's stone. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Pascal. And moving on, first person with their hand up was Mehmet. Hello, Mehmet. Over to you.
Hello, hi. How is my voice?
Clear.
Clear, excellent. Okay, excellent presentation. Thank you so much, Pascal. I'm curious about one thing. There's a curious suggestion that Basil Valentine may not have been a single individual, maybe a composite or a collective author. Maybe a group of alchemists just created this character. What do you think about this claim? And I was thinking, if it's true, actually, it can enrich the whole angle of it. But I just want to hear your opinions about him. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you are asking my own opinion about it, so as I said, there are different interpretations. Some interpretation says that the manuscript by so-called Basilius Valentinus were from an abbé prior around 1700th century. Others say that it was an abbé from another abbé in the 16 something, and then with the time it appears that there is this kind of Johann Tolde who has published books, let's say metallurgical, chemical books under the name of Valentine. So, but if you ask for me, I would say what does matter. And this is the same with Christian Rosicruciana. Did he exist? Was he found in a vault or whatever? I would say why not, and I will be the first to enter the vault, the physical vault, if somebody can point it out to me, and I will be more than happy. But the truth is in the words, the truth is in the message, and the truth and the knowledge is there. And at some point, so many centuries ago, this is the message which remains, and the power and the energy and how it resonates. And this is fun to try to elucidate this enigma. Who wrote how, when, where, and so on, and who was he, and to whom was he connected, and where, what were his master, his pupils, students, and so on, is very fun. But this is the message. And I would say a bit like the previous question from Texas, it's about what kind of message and what kind of lessons and what kind of energy we are taking out this message from inside of ourselves and from also inside of group, which might be interested by this kind of energy. Because at the end of the day, as I said, what interests me, this is how it resonates today. Because of course, all these works, Rosicrucian, the Famas and so on, it was not born and written by hazard coming from the sky to some elite people. It is really the product of a time of social unrest, of political unrest, of political renewal, cultural dynamic. And so if we had the same today, it would be totally different. When I am in the craft, I'm always saying if we were about to invent or reinvent the craft today, it would be totally different, because aristocrats and because aristocracy and because the world and the tools and so on has been changing. It would be different. But what is important, this is the spirit. What does it catalyze in ourselves for change and enlightenment? I don't know if it answers your question.
It did answer. Thank you. Thank you. It confirmed my belief, actually. Again, as you said, it doesn't really matter if who wrote it or But if it's a group of people, actually, maybe its value is more than that. And actually, it symbolizes our society as Rosicrucian society as a whole as well. Thank you for your answer and great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a quick question in the chat here from Martin. Do you have any thoughts? Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. Yeah. Any thoughts on who it might be standing with Elizabeth in the first image?
This is a good question. So the first image, this is a good question. And
are you able to reshare that image on your screen, please, Pascal, so we can all follow? Thank you.
So give me some time because not right. Where is the? This is the Zoom PowerPoint. So you wait. Frankly, I don't know, but this is an interesting question. If anybody, wait now, share. Bear with me.
Yeah.
Okay, Zoom. Zoom. Okay, share. We are okay. This one, correct? Can you see it?
Not yet, no.
Oh. Anyway, wait. This share, maybe something wrong. Prepare the file. If not, I will show it. Zoom.
Yes, this is coming onto the, yeah, that's it. It's coming onto the screen now. That's the one. Yes, thank you.
If anybody has an idea, I'm listening to you because frankly, I'm also curious and I must say it didn't get to me who was the gentleman. Anybody has an idea?
The most likely would be John Dee.
That's what I thought.
If it's Elizabeth, most likely it's John Dee, indeed. Yep.
Okay. So maybe moving on. Thank you for that. We have Benny with your hand up. Thanks for your patience, Benny.
Thank you very much. And hello from Copenhagen. And thank you for a very interesting and also very clear presentation, I think. And I was wondering if this text or this series of images have any connection with the text called Splendor Solis, which I was studying a few years ago, another important alchemical text, and which I found very, very inspiring. And I would like to ask you if you know about any link between these two text traditions or, alchemists. And also I had a reflection on this question about the stone, which came from Texas. And I came to think of the perfect ashlar stone in Freemasonry, and also the stone which is a cornerstone, often used as a symbol of Jesus Christ. You know, the cornerstone, which was the Masons rejected. You know, and which is kind of relevant to our Easter time now. So that was my two questions.
Thank you very much, Benny. I must say, to be honest, the second point, Jesus Christ, the cornerstone, rejected within the Mark Mason ritual. It just get to my brains now. I never thought like this, and it must say it's in me. Like, wow, what the hell? I've missed this part. It's brilliant. Thank you for this. This is brilliant. Yes, after so many years in the Mark, Just brilliant. Thank you so much for this. I don't have much more on this part. The splendor solis. What do you have exactly in mind? If I don't know about the splendor solis, but most probably the illustration has been introduced in the Latin traduction by Michael Mayer. So 1618. From where did Michael Mayer took it? This is a good question. Maybe it's coming from the sky, but most probably it's also his own practice, his own experience, and so on. I don't know if you can tell us a bit more about the Splendor Solis, Benny.
It just seems that anyway, the illustrations is a bit more elaborated than the illustrations from Basil Valentine, and I thought it must be of a later date than Basil Valentine. And I don't know, some of the symbols, of course, are recognizable from, in both texts, and also I came to think also of some of the symbols from the tarot tradition, the lion and the child and all these things, but I don't know if there's any direct link between these two traditions.
It's a good question. Really, it's really interesting one. Worth to be continued and further studied, Benny. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brig, you've had your hand up for a while. Thank you once again for being patient with us, and over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Pascal, my mind is absolutely buzzing, and please forgive me for two things. Number one, I had never heard of Basil Valentine, and secondly, I've found as you were running through the 12 keys, I was just scribbling down my rough appraisal of how the 12 keys would apply to modern Freemasonry, and Benny raised this point as it is certainly as regards the mark. For argument's sake, I've just scribbled down separation of impurities, work on the self, integration of opposites, the Masonic pavement, mastery over our emotions, the junior warden assisted by the soul and the spirit, i.e. The senior warden and the master, union of forces, inner truth, know thyself, death, resurrection to the new life, being raised, etc., etc. But so my simplistic question, Pascal, is number one, I am fascinated at the insight of these writings, and I do feel that they are reflected in our so-called modern Freemasonry. Would you subscribe to the fact that we really do need to go back and rediscover these lost keys?
It's always a pleasure to catch up and to engage with you. Thank you so very much. Yes, definitely the answer is yes. Tradition is something alive. Tradition is something carved in stone, but in living stones. And these are living keys translating and transmutating eternal truths, eternal, I would say, states of the human condition. So yes, it is. And most probably also, of course, it's making a big detour. But this is also why I think is so much embedded in today, in the modern world. And we should make everything in our Rosicrucian ritual and also in our Masonic ritual to make feel that this is alive. This is not only a view of the mind. This is not a written text that you just by heart declaim and share and so on, which is good. But there is much more. And this is Briggs, really, I think I'm deeply convinced that this is our mission as Rosicrucianists, as Mason, as humanists, as human beings, not only to learn and to be inspired, but also to inspire and to translate it in the real world. Of course, and I fully agree about this, for instance, we don't do about politics, religions, and so on. So we just do ritual and so on. And up to everybody in the profane life to materialize what he has learned in lodge. Yes, of course, but it can be also something we can bring it even further, not being to a ideological, political, or religious or whatever. It's possible. How we do it, frankly, after so many years, I still don't know, but I think it's worth to share it and to investigate how we can, what are the next steps. And for instance, it makes me think the initiative of the SRIA, which is, I don't remember, is Frater Robert Gordon and Shane and so on, you know, Rosicrucianism manifest for the modern time. There is something there. There is something there, and we have to push further this kind of thinking, research, and sharing. I don't know if it answered, Rick.
I totally agree with you there, Pascal. Wonderful point, very point.
Pascal, very many thanks for your comments and sincerely reminding us, I think, of where we have come from, where we are, sadly, and but where, more importantly, we need to go. Many thanks.
Thank you, Rick.
Hear, hear, Brig. Wonderful point. We have a few questions in the chat, Pascal. I'll go one at a time here. From Corazon de Leon. Dear Pascal, would you be able to provide your perspective on the order of the plates, as they don't appear to be in logical order according to the operative path?
Very smart question. Frankly, I have the same question as you have. So far that I can share with you, it happens that these keys, illustration, the pictures, are not necessary as such contemporary of the first publicized edition, which is dated 1600. As far as I know, and I've not been so far able to cross the information, the 12 keys illustrations that we have shared today are the work mostly of Michael Meyer. Good question, and next step would be, where did he get it? And I point out also what shared Benny with us. Is it inspired by the Splendus Solis? What was the idea? And these images were presented in the Latin translation by Michael Meyer. So what crossed his mind at that time to fill, to present 1, 2, 3 like as it is today is an excellent question, and I don't have a final answer. For instance, you see, if this is, let's imagine the first key is Elizabeth and John Dee. So, and it's, you see what I mean? So we are already in something that is cooking there in the head, probably of Michael Meyer. I don't know, but it's an excellent point. Well done, well done.
Okay, we have another comment here, or question, actually. I think it probably is a question, really, from Hasu, who says, George Ripley, 12 keys, or Samuel Norton, 14 keys?
Yes, Hasu, can you tell us a bit more about it? I don't know if Hasu...
You know, when you talk of the subject, these are so factual because they were written, they're published, their true characters are known for their work. But if you're saying Valentine, did he exist? Or I think somebody, did Brig mention it? You know, did somebody amalgamate the work of these two and create a third body?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the same period. If you look at their time periods,
exactly,
they're very much within this 40, 50-year bracket.
Yeah. Agree. But what was the question, Hasu?
Well, the question was, do you think that, as you said, we don't know if he was a real person or someone amalgamated everything between two or three different propositions and created a third person. So could it be, Samuel Norton or George Ripley's work, the 12 and 14, and someone thought, hang on, let's create something, a third version, and give it a name. Very nice to give it a Latin origins and European title to create the intrigue.
It's a very valid point, Azu. I think that we are much here. Again, I'm not an academic. I'm not a researcher, just a searcher. Most probably, we are confronted here with a kind of Andrea phenomenon, in the sense that Andrea wrote under his own name or whatever books that we can find, identified, and read as today. Johan Tolde is a bit Andrea of the 12 keys, in the sense that he published some studies, metallurgical, chemical, alchemical books under the pseudonym Valentine, but this is for sure these writings are by Johan Tolde. On the other hand, of course, as Andrea, he was part of this German Tübingen and so on, with a lot of influence from all sides of the society, and especially the Reformation spirit, which was also the case for Andrea and his fellow at that time. So most probably we are standing there. As I said, what is important, this is the message, but this is not to underestimate, of course, who are the authors, because they have a life. They are born at a specific period, a specific geographical location, which has an influence of their thoughts, of their minds, and the way they are articulated. Yes.
Because when we just earlier on, we mentioned about the first image and the assumption that is John Dee. But if you look on the hat, there's a crown which represents a king.
Exactly.
So you won't represent a king accompanying a queen who was not married. So how do you get that? So could it not? Does it have to be Elizabeth? Could be any philosophical idea of a king and a queen.
Philosopher king.
Philosopher king, the alchemical wedding, king and queen. It's open. It's open for interpretation. And the beauty of it, you don't need to have a PhD in anything. You don't need to have 30 years of practices in a cavern alone eating bread and stones. It's just there for the one who are open for it, and this is really the beauty, I think.
Thank you,
Pascal. Thank you. Intriguing again, which means that we've got to search further now. Bless you.
Onward and upward, eh? Thank you very much, Hasu. Following on from what you were just saying there, Pascal, we have another question here from Richard. What role did allegory and symbolism play in Valentine's writing? And why would alchemists choose to write in such a veiled style?
This is the right question, and there is in the paper there is no 2 pages introduction about origin of alchemy, going back to the Egyptians, transmitted to the Greeks, and so on and so on and so on, the Arab, and coming into the Western world and so on. By the way, there was also, well before probably medieval alchemy, as we know it, the Chinese alchemy. And it would be also interesting going back also centuries, if not millennium before. It's a very good question. So I would say the common answer to this, and as you know it, Richard, is the fact that it was so advanced for the time, and it was so putting the religious aristocratic order in question, that if they knew this, you could be excommunicated in the best case scenario, or burn next door. So of course they were supposed to hide it. and they wanted to share it. First of all, they wanted to put for themselves, most probably on paper. They wanted to share with the same, I would say, with the like-minded people. And it was circulating. Once we had Gutenberg and all the printing technology, it was shared all around the world. Huh? And I think also this is the time of Spinoza. Spinoza was also I would say, putting into question, deep question the theology and so on of this time. But also, and this is also interesting, sometimes we forget, it was so esoteric. It was so strange. Huh? If you were from the Inquisition, the Great Inquisitor, and you look at some of these key skeletons, and you see lions, dragons, and you see, I don't know what, all strange thing. If you are the Great Inquisitors and you find this kind of book, you say, oh, there is something wrong. So those guys, they are writing, you see, they are burning people, there is a bishops, and next door they are fermentating, and so there are strange things. So on the other hand, presenting this strange thing to the Inquisition was not only hiding what you were willing to hide, but also it was capturing the attention. No, so frankly, this is where we stand. Probably to hidden message to protect themselves, to protect the message. But on the other hand, it could have attracted Inquisition and other evils not sharing this progressive idea.
So, Pascal, this also leads perfectly from what you were just saying there. We have another question here from Gillibot. Do you have any hypothesis as to why Basil Valentine pretended to be a Benedictine monk?
This is also very interesting. Did he pretend to be, so as far as I know, did he pretend to be a Benedictine monk, or Benedictine monk pretended they knew, or one of them was Basilius Valentine? Frankly, we don't know. We don't know. Chicken and eggs.
Okay, thank you very much. I would like to ask you for your thoughts, please. And I'm really glad that you highlighted what you feel is a very important issue, and what you say you have a particular interest in is how does this philosophical or spiritual process and practice relate to where we are in society today, and what relevance does this have in the world as it is now, and where we're headed in relation to where we're headed, or where we potentially can move to. And there was one of the things I took a note of in the fifth key about death and renewal, where it says the key emphasizes the necessity of letting go of old structures and embracing renewal. True transformation arises when the old self is dissolved, paving the way for new beginnings. And I'm curious to hear from your perspective on what you make of the old frameworks, societal frameworks and institutions, and the state that they are in at this time in relation to the dissolving and the letting go of the old, and where you ideally feel that this could what it could open up for us in relation to new beginnings.
Thank you, Shane. But this is the core. The core is the core of the message and the core of the study and so on. This is how, as a human being, what are the lessons that we learn, and what are the lessons that we share, and what are the lessons we put in practice. And of course, is a call for awareness. It's a call to be awake what is at stake today. It's not only about our times. It's part of the human being history of yesterday and probably of tomorrow. But how can we promote awareness, self-awakening? How we can also promote compassion It's not about dominating the matters. To me, it's not about, of course, it's transformation and so on, but this is not by, it's not, okay, it's fire and so on, but this is very fire, water, air, but this is very natural stuff that are not supposed per se to be aggressive. And in that sense, and taking also the opportunity that is a very special period, Easter, Holy Saturday. Let's make of each of us, or for what it means, let's be each of us the philosophical stone. Let's transmute ourselves from inside, which will help. It's very basic. You don't need to be psychanalyst or whatever. Just very basic. Let's also share the light. And this is very optimistic also, because if you remember 15th century, 16th century, very dark times for the regular citizens, a pandemic, epidemic, wars, hunger, and so on. Very dark times, not only for the alchemist or the esoterist or a hermeticist or the hidden whatever you want. It was very hard time, very hard time. But to some extent, I found it very, very, very positive, very positive. There is hope, and there is hope not in something that is, of course, there are allegories, kings and queens and God and son and so on. But this is allegories. There are images that are talking about us, And what I say is very personal. The divine, which is mentioned and referred and so on, it's also about us, because divinity is in us, as we are in the divine, in the divinity. So whatever is divine, what is a God, what is in a name, what is in the great architect and so on. But to some extent, it does not matter. It is what we do about it, how we share the light, how we spread the light, how we grow the light. These are words. I don't have, for me, something. For you, Shane, is something else. For Azu, for Willie or others, Martin, something else. But the point is, it's also a call for action. This is nice. It's not only philosophical, it's also metaphorical, magic, abracadabra, I go through the wall, fly in the air, and so on. It's very well grounded. This is why I like it very much. And this is why I think also it talks to us today, still.
It certainly highlights that we have a responsibility to do our best to change things in whatever ways we are able to radiate a certain influence to catalyze positive change in the world. There's a huge responsibility that each of us has to do our very best to take the whole area of study out of the realms of purely intellectual contemplation and mental work and into the real world.
Yes.
We have somebody also here, Alfred, has said that in the chat that if anybody's interested, he's put a link in the chat to the first print of 1599 with some simplified drawings.
Thank you.
And he says that the author called the Queen a German bride for the king with the golden crown.
We get it.
Yeah, okay. And Benny, you have your hand up. Over to you, please.
Yeah, I just had a reflection on the point of secrecy. The old alchemist and all the esoteric Rosicrucians and other people had to kind of go under the radar, so to speak, because of the danger of persecution from the society, And I think today we have actually the same problem. I think just look at America, how freedom of speech is being limited, and a new totalitarian winds are blowing, many places in the world. And I think you're right. We have to show our lights, and we have to help, but we should never reveal our secrets. There's still a need for to keep our practices and our deeper esoteric thoughts secret for those who are really interesting and worthy of receiving them. That's my point.
Thank you, Benny.
Lee, over to you.
Hi there, Pascal. Not spoken to you for a long time. Hope you're very well. Thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. It was lovely to hear your views on this matter. I'm going to refer again to the question and the point that was raised regarding the societal aspects of things. Which I think is, again, a very worthy point of contemplation through the lens of alchemical symbolism, as well as the operative laboratory conditions or spiritual conditions, however which way we want to approach this. But in context of the societal aspect, I think it's worth reflecting on the fact that alchemy was always referred to as the royal art. And when we're talking about societal transformation, or even personal transformation, indeed, some points of it may be difficult, seem quite harsh and quite challenging. But ultimately, because it is called an art, I think it's very important to contemplate this fact that things should be done with art. In other words, with great care. That every transformation that we're here to make, whether it's societal, personal, or whatever, should be done with a great amount of wisdom and a great amount of contemplation before each move is made, and that it should never be a overzealous, ham-fisted affair. I have spoken.
Nothing to add, Lee. Always a pleasure to see you. Indeed, the philosopher king, the royal art. So I have nothing to add. It's absolutely that. And again, how do we translate it in our Rosicrucian practice? It's individual, but also it's not. I think to some extent it's easy to say, listen, it's up to everybody to make up his own mind, and you do what. Okay, it's good, but there must be something else as a Rosicrucianism, as Masonry, not being involved in politics or in religion, or not being involved in individual choice or whatever. There must be something else, and this is, for me, this is 21st century, 2025. This is crucial, and this is why, for instance, lead these initiatives on
Fama Fraternitatis, yeah.
For modern time is very important, because it has to be interpreted to our own reality, and also to push it further. Mm-hmm. It's not only about curing the poor people and so on. Most of us we are not a medical doctor, but it has involved. So how we do it, of course, in our individual life, but also as an organization, how we bear it. Maybe we are already doing it, great, but it's important at least to be aware and conscious of it.
I think just to add another very short thing as well, and that is, it's supposed to be healing. This art is supposed to be healing as well. It's not supposed to be destructive as such. I mean, obviously, within the alchemical process, certain things do need to be regenerated. But once again, I emphasize with great skill and great art, and with the aim of healing. Thank you.
I agree. Thanks.
Okay, we have a comment from Francois in the chat saying inspiration maybe could come from Rosarium Philosophorum 1550. Carl Jung studied these alchemical works, including Basil Valentine's, and commented in his book Psychology and Alchemy that could provide some understanding and guiding.
Agree. And I have a para in the text about about Carl Jung extensive exploration of alchemical symbols and so on and so on. It will be posted on the website. Agree, fully agree. And this is again how it resonates today. Huh? Of course, it's because it's symbols, it's because it's allegory and so on, but again, it's not only about symbols. This is not about allegory. This is also about what we do, how we make sense of it.
I completely agree. Thank you very much for that comment. And we have Des has just put in the chat, dogmatic enforcement of accepted wisdom is alive and well in 2025. To thine own self be true. Not quite sure what's meant by that. If you want to elaborate, Des, please go ahead.
Yeah, maybe if it can be shared orally.
Okay, otherwise, we have Boris. You've had your hand up for a while. Thank you for your patience, Boris.
Thank you. Lovely presentation, Pascal. I think this writing is a must read for anybody who is a Rosicrucian or aspires to be. And I think whoever it is, you know, this him as a monk or Johann Tölde, this work, you know, was the basis for chemistry, and people have called Johann Tölde the father of chemistry. And I'm just thinking, you know, it's as you said, Pascal, it speaks about concrete steps. And it shows how transformation is a series of steps. It's not a silver bullet. It's not a one thing, right? It takes a lot of time. It's messy. It's smelly. It's dirty. There's death involved. And eventually you come out of it. But I was inspired to make a comment with what you mentioned about, you know, the task for Rosicrucian society for this era. And Shane, I thought how, you know, chemistry in the Middle Ages was the new science which tried to explain transmutation. Maybe quantum physics is the science of today, which tried to explain, you know, high realms. And I'm just thinking how, you know, what chemistry was at that time, maybe quantum physics in quantum biology and other, you know, quantum fill the dots of science is maybe where we're going to, because eventually we have to somehow close the gap between science and spirituality. Thank you.
Sorry, Pascal, I'd just like to comment on that. I find that very interesting what you say there, and I would also add that the study of consciousness, I feel, is a very timely and important area of scientific research, and I think that this is only just starting to emerge. And the depths and the heights of this study, I don't think we yet have a comprehension of, but it's an area I feel that deserves our fullest attention.
I didn't plan to make this comment, but just another point, and I think it's a must in today's time and age because of AI. So much is being said and funded around artificial intelligence, and we don't talk enough about human intelligence. You know, I like to say I love AI, but I believe in HI much more. So I think we as a spiritual society absolutely have to focus on the human intelligence, on higher states of consciousness, on consciousness on its own, because, you know, the ether would be flooded by anything but human intelligence and how to develop that. And if you look at, I will make a brave statement. I think if you look at in the world today, who is the institution or society or group of people which is actively working on promoting human intelligence and human consciousness, you will have a hard time in thinking of maybe a university here and there. Of course, science, but science is trying to kind of show it and prove it. But I think we are the small group of people on the planet today which absolutely has to focus on this because it's an existential thing for human society. Thank you.
Any thoughts, Pascal?
Oh, just brilliant, Boris. Thank you very much for sharing this. You point out exactly where we stand and where we should go. And Shane also, I totally agree. I have nothing more smart to add to what you both said.
I think that as well regarding consciousness, that if we're really to study consciousness, it's not restricted to humanity, I believe consciousness is interconnected on a deep and profound level with all sentient life. And our consciousness is intrinsically linked with the consciousness of all life. And that this is the area of study and research I feel is important for each of us as individuals, but for humanity as a whole, to recognize that we are connected in ways which are far deeper and more mysterious than we have previously understood. But I believe that we're moving into a time where this has the potential to emerge as a stronger and clearer reality, to open up our capacity as spiritual beings and to work with our consciousness in such a way that we become more interconnected with the sacred nature of all life.
And if I may add the following, makes me think the following, Shad. And again, as it is Easter time, it's like about moving from the ancient Testament, God, Moses, and so on. New Testament, the Son, send his Son as a messenger, as a medium, as a vector, as a whatever you want. And we are waiting, but we are not, as we are 21st century. The point is is an allegory, of course, to be contributing to after the Old Testament, the New Testament is what is the Spirit, the Holy Spirit is the consciousness. So we have, as a Rosicrucian, if I may say, because I am Rosicrucian, it's SRIA study group. This is our mission, this is our duty, this is also what is expected for us. How to make the reign, so to speak, of the Spirit, the plain consciousness happen. First in all individual and then, inshallah, in the rest of the world.
Yeah, wholeheartedly, yes. Thank you, Pascal. We have, just to clarify, Des has put in the chat that his comment was in reference to present day cancel culture of anything vaguely anti-establishment, accepted narrative. That's what he's saying. He wishes to clarify. Thank you very much, Des. And from Hasu, God exists and science tries its hardest to prove that only science exists. Yeah. Any comments, anybody?
What's in a name, eh? What's in a name? God. God. It's just a human writing, perception, conception, but God, of course, consciousness is much more than that. And but Hasu has a point, as always.
Thank you, Hasu. Anybody else? Any comments or questions, please, for Pascal? Feel free, don't be shy. Okay, therefore, in that case, do you have any? Hang on, we have somebody else who's just commented in the chat. From Jack. Hello, Jack. Jack says, science is a part of alchemy. I would say maybe at its best, yes, it should be. Any other thoughts on this?
Science as alchemy, there are tools to investigate and uncover the mysteries of nature. They are tools. They are tools. There should not be churches.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Benny, go ahead, please.
According to some esoteric writers that I have been reading, there is in the traditional esoteric teaching a concept about planets and stars being conscious. For example, our sun, that our sun has a consciousness, and I think it's when you look at the child's drawings, you know, you always see them giving the sun a face, you know, and are these ideas expressed in these alchemical texts that the sun and the moon and the planets are like conscious beings?
I completely agree with this, Benny. It's a very, very good point. I have mentioned this several times when I've had the privilege of presenting for the Metropolitan Study Group, and I've drawn people's attention to. There's a wonderful documentary, the title of which is Aware: Glimpses of Consciousness. And I highly recommend that if you're able to find that. It's called Aware: Glimpses of Consciousness. It's a documentary about the ongoing research into what is consciousness. And one of the women doctors, scientists, or professors, I can't remember which, made a comment that really stuck with me. And she said, our problem is that we see things, not beings. And I would say that, as you pointed out rightly, the being of the sun and the being of the stars and the planets and the beings all around us, we look and we see, I look out of the window and I see plants, I see a tree, I see flowers, you know, and bees or other insects or birds, and we just think that's a bird, but we don't see the being which inhabits it. And I think that for me, that is the clearest example of the stone which the builders rejected. And sadly, we still continue to reject. We make the assumption that these are things and that we don't see or perceive or take time to connect with the being of how consciousness inhabits and is radiant within all these beings that we share this world with. I think that's very important personally. I'll welcome your thoughts, Pascal, or anyone.
I would say consciousness, it's a word, and for what it is and what it means, is expressing itself through everything. Consciousness is expressing itself not only through things, through beings, but through a table, through a stone, through a mountain, through water, through you, to me. And yeah, so can be God, can be consciousness, can be the real, can be whatever. Can be the primal energy, can be, it's expressing, it's the same it's the same energy anyway, expressing itself, herself, himself, whatever, through all reality, through the real. And of course, it means that there are different realms, different reality, different blah, 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 that we all know as well. And fully agree also with what Benny shared. It's not only, you know, kind of childish representation in that context, not only a childish representation of what is the moon with a smile, or what is the sun. It's probably talking to us much deeper than what we might think today. Thank you for this, Benny, as well.
We have a comment from Richard. Science is like a telescope pointed at the vast sky of consciousness, while spirituality feels the awe of the stars. Science maps their positions and motions. Both are gazing at the same cosmos from different angles. One seeks to understand the mechanics, the other the meaning. But together they reveal that consciousness, just give me one. Yeah, but together they reveal that consciousness is not just neurons firing in the dark. It is the universe awakening to itself, studied through the lens of science and felt through the soul of spirit. What a beautiful, beautiful comment. How lovely. Brig, once again, over to you.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, I want to go back to this concept of alchemy. For me, I'll use one word: transformation. So, if that is indeed a truth contained within that, I'm reminded of the charity charge in the first degree of craft Freemasonry, which talks about the foundation stone and the hope that one can raise an edifice perfect in all its parts and honourable to the builder. Well, clearly this is not a Jewson's job. This is a spiritual endeavour of building one's own temple within a Masonic temple, and through building that, realise a transformation, and also obviously realising the light of a master mason is but darkness visible. And going back to Benny's point, and perhaps as was previously discussed, how do we make this relevant to us? Well, I would argue very simplistically from a Masonic point of view that we need to remind our craft brethren of the basics, that we're not just a charitable dining club, that there are very simplistic things pointed to us with the utmost clarity. But sadly, these things invariably, as a generality, are just not explained. And we need to be instrumental in this, I feel.
Pascal?
Totally agree, Brick, and totally resonate. And again, yeah, I would really, for me, there will be. It's also words. These are words. Freemasonry will be spiritual or will be not. The 21st century. If we, and it's related also with the membership. What do we offer to apprentices who are eager, hungry to deepen this knowledge and so on? And not only a dining club itself, of course, is not bad. It's fun, and we need fun. It's also about positive energies, sharing, laughs, and so on. But this is much more, and this is also our responsibility to beyond or next the structure. Is not even a matter of to put in question the existing structure. But we have to make, and this is the case, the existence of the SRIA and all the cycles. We have to make, it's our responsibility to make our voice heard. It's our responsibility. Even if it's to speak in the desert, speaking in the desert is sharing energy anyway. And if we relate to quantum physics or whatever, this is the butterfly effect. And so this is our responsibility. And really grateful, take this opportunity, really grateful to brethren as Break and others, but also to the SRIA, to be this echo chambers of this appetite to move forward in the knowledge of the mysteries of nature.
Thank you, Pascal.
Likewise, thank you, Pascal. I'd like to just ask you personally, I would dearly like to have a conversation with you personally about what we can do to move things forward. So I hope that you have my email address. I suspect that you probably do. I'm not sure whether I do have an email address for you. So could you please contact me, and then we can arrange a suitable time and have a conversation about this, because what you're speaking about is very, very close to my heart. And I would even go so far as to say that I feel that it's to do with our reason for being. The reason for why we've met, how we've met in this way. It's lovely to see your smile there, Brig. That's a lovely smile. You feel it, and I know that many of you do. Why have we met at this time? Surely it's because we are being gathered to do something together, to make a difference. And I would like to have this conversation in more depth with you all, but I don't want to take up time now.
We have the deal, Shane.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We have one second. Francois has said, yes, Pascal, it develops negentropy. I would say, is that negative entropy? Francois, if you want to elaborate on that, please go ahead. And
yes, definitely.
It's
negentropy is negative entropy. Entropy is negative, it's destruction, it's the time and it's death. And negentropy is positive, it's positive energy. And as you were saying, Pascal, the more we share this, the more negentropy comes. And because there is so much entropy right now.
Thank you, Francois.
I completely agree. Thank you very much. Gillibot, you've had your hand up. Thanks for your patience. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we were just talking about transformation, and actually one of the beautiful things about alchemy is actually it's about transmutation. So it's not only about changing the shape of things, it goes more deeply. It's about the essence of things. It's about changing the way we see things, the way our hearts can feel things. And what I really enjoyed today with you, Pascal, is that you put words on things that I've never seen before, and an image as well that really helped me to see the world differently and to be different. And so thank you so much for that. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for these comments. And as to relate it, what you kindly and generously share with us now, to relate it to what Shoyam say, it's time for action. It's time to not to reinvent the wheel, but yeah, we understand each other, and it's time to move on. Thank you so very much.
So has anybody else? Oh, here we go. We've got Elaine. Hello, Elaine. Over to you.
Hi, it's actually Robbie. I don't know if you can hear me.
Hi, Robbie.
Yeah. I'm quite new to Rosicrucianism, new to alchemy. I try to keep an open mind with everything that I look at, and I try to look at things from other people's perspective. That's quite a key thing for me moving forward. And for me to try and understand an alchemical text, I try to look at the author's perception. But obviously, we all have different perceptions, not only just from having different experiences and how we see things, how we interact with these things. How can we have the same perception as the author? And my question is really, how do we understand what the author is trying to come across unless we have the same experiences as the author of the alchemical text? And with everybody talking about the ancient mystery systems that we have in place just now are kind of starting to fizzle out, in the future, where do we go trying to understand these things if we've not got the potential to experience the same things as what they did at the time? I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say with that, Pascal.
So, do I correctly understand how we move forward now from all what has been shared about alchemy and so on? Or is it something, can you maybe rephrase, Robbie?
Sorry. So basically, how do we get the true meaning of what the author is trying to say? Do we just have to go into ourselves and use our own experiences and our own perceptions of these alchemical symbols, alchemical texts, to discover the true meaning of it? Or how do we go about experiencing the same things as what the author has came about?
I get it. Thank you, Robbie. I will just share some thoughts, and maybe Sean will wish to at some point. I think there are many ways, of course, there are many ways. You are part of the Rosicrucianism, I guess, SRIA or whatever. So it's already, it means most probably you are a Freemason. So I would say the tools are there, the rituals and the reading and reciting and so on, practicing. Practicing is important. So these will be tools that help us, all of us, to find our own truths, our own wisdom, aligned with what is shared in the rituals and in the exchange between the study groups and so on. At the end of the day, so for all of us to make up our own mind and what is the truth and what is revelation and what is and my truth is probably not the same of that your truth. And I would say this is by reading, meditating, practicing action. Action is important to activate the symbol through the practice of the ritual, but also to go in the nature and just listen and to look and to absorb as a sponge. It's about to be alive at the end of the day. It's to be alive and fully alive. And yeah, this is a path. This is a path. It's a journey. It's not the final point that is important. This is the journey itself. Of course, it is. These are words, but it reflects the reality. We have to be in action, in movement, and then we will see what get out of it. And what I would say also, I don't know if it answer to your question, but there is a point. The more you get into this stuff, and with the esoteric knowledge and maybe enlightenment or whatever, these are all words, the more you are alone, the more you are alone, because it's a very, very, of course, you have the group and so on, but this is mostly a personal journey. And the more you get into it, the more you are alone. And the more it's not necessary to look for masters. So we are always the apprentice of somebody else. So this is it. It's just experiment it, just meditate it, absorb it, resonate with it, and for the rest you will see, and you will come back to us and tell us how it feels and how it works. I don't know if Sean has something to add, or Robbie, if you want to add something on this.
I think basically, I know we all have our own perception, and what we read, what we learn, all have a meaning to us. But I suppose what I was trying to say really is, if we're looking at the future and new initiates coming forward and trying to learn these things, if we don't have Freemasonry or some of the different mystery systems that have the experiences there for people to go in and experience, how will, I suppose, I'm a Mason. I've been through certain orders in Masonry, and I've had the different initiations into different orders, and for these experiences build up my perception and perspective of the different texts and things that I read. But for the people out there who are trying to understand different alchemical texts and different books and trying to make up their own minds on what it means, I suppose they're the people that I worry about moving forward. They've not got the same advantages as someone like myself has. And that's kind of what I was trying to get at, is where do you see in the future if we don't have these? Is this all just going to die away? Is it going to be lost meanings like ancient text that no one can understand? And how do we move forward with that?
You point out exactly what is the challenge. Huh? It requires disciplines. It requires involvement. It requires desire. You have to have appetite for this, and that you are with us today. You have this appetite, and this is already. I won't say enough, but this is good. And I would say the last thing I want to add. This is ask and you will receive. Search, you will find, and knock. The door will be open for you. And
I'd like to make a comment as well, please. And that is that each of us are responsible for our own researches. All of this, the subject matter that we're all interested in is ongoing research and development. It's work in progress for all of us as individuals. And it's up to us to, as Pascal just mentioned, to seek with a passion and to study. There's so much information now that is available to us more than ever before as human beings to study the mysteries from all different traditions. And what I feel is that when we think of alchemy, it isn't just an old historical practice. It's a living tradition based upon the interconnected nature of the archetypes that the symbolism describes, the symbolism in alchemy. And for me, my own limited understanding of alchemy comes from the study of Kabbalah in particular, because the Kabbalistic tree of life has so many ways of shedding light on the interconnectedness of many different symbolisms and how the various archetypes interconnect with each other. So I think by studying a methodology like the Kabbalah, it could be also other people, for them it may be astrology, it may be gematria, it may be alchemy. But ultimately, if we understand the archetypes themselves, then we can have a very interesting interaction and conversation with people who maybe have studied alchemy in depth. Even if we haven't, we have an understanding of the archetypes that those symbols and allegories are seeking to describe. So we have so much available to us to learn, so that our experience of alchemy becomes a living tradition. It's something which is alive, living and breathing and evolving as we do. Just my 10 penneth. Brig, you have your hand up. Go ahead, please, Brig.
Thank you, Shane. Can I add a 5 penneth? Robbie, yes, for me, sadly, I must share this experience with you. In my respective 3 provinces in which I've got various feet, my experience is, as a generality, that there is no official attempt from province or even Grand Lodge to teach that craft Freemasonry has a philosophical, spiritual stroke esoteric dimension. It's almost as if the word spirituality, cannot be mentioned because perish the thought it might actually get confused with the word religion. But I don't want to dwell on this one. What I want to dwell on is a very simplistic concept. I think we need to keep it simple. Forget all the strange disciplines that we've been mentioning today. But let's think about Pascal's advice. It's not a race. It is a journey. It's our experiences, and yes, it is our duty to assist younger stroke misinformed brethren. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Very true. But if you don't take the bloomin' thing to the water in the first place, you deny it choice. So surely our duty is to put simplistic choices in front of brethren who are not in possession of simple facts that we enjoy a philosophical, spiritual, stroke esoteric tradition, and say, well, there it is, and if you want to investigate further, away you go.
Over to you, Pascal. Any comments?
Nothing to it.
Okay, thank you very much, Brig.
Brig, as usual, thank you for this.
Benny, over to you, please, Benny.
Yeah, it is actually a comment to Briggs, who is searching for some more deeper understanding of Freemasonry. I don't know, Brig, if you have seen. I have put in the notes in the chat a book by William Leslie Wilmshurst, The Meaning of Freemasonry. It's an old book, but it's actually a very, very deep and profound explanation about the 3 degrees and also the Royal Arch degree in Freemasonry. And I can really recommend it to everyone who wants a deeper understanding of the meaning of Freemasonry. Thank you.
Benny, thank you so much. It is on my shelf. I've read it a couple of times, but I need to read it 3, 4, 5 times and work on it. Many thanks.
Okay, thank you.
We have another offering here from Hasu. He says, just like breathing, we do not see the atmosphere, but still our physical mechanism called the body knows exactly which elements of the surrounding invisible atmosphere needs to be taken in for us to survive. So our physical self is always performing alchemy without us ever realizing. Beautiful. So anybody else, any questions or comments for Pascal in particular? Okay, in this case, Pascal, any closing words from you today?
Peace and light, everybody. Peace and love. I love you all.
I completely echo your sentiment there, and likewise, Pascal. Thank you to everybody. I'm just going to change the view. Sorry. Just so for the purpose of the recording here, I just want to change the view. That's much better. So, yeah, on behalf of the Metropolitan Study Group of the SRIA, I'd like to thank you all for being with us today, particularly to Frater Pascal for your wonderful presentation. Thank you very much, Pascal. I look forward to hearing from you. And I would like to wish all of you a very peaceful and blessed Easter. And yes, I look forward to seeing you all again next month on the 3rd Saturday in May. So yeah, love, peace, light to all of you. Have a wonderful Easter.